Hi there, I'm John from SandboxRanch.com, and today we make some more custom banks. I haven't posted any blog posts or videos of what's been happening over the last 3 months, but there's been a tremendous amount of changes here in the shop. The biggest changes you'll see actually right behind me here, literally. I got a Thermwood machine, which is basically 12,000 pounds of CNC router, versus my old machine, which is the ShopBot PRS Alpha, which is fantastic. And that machine is 1,500 to 2,000 pounds. Now, the reason that is important is because if you have a very solid, heavy machine, you don't end up with a lot of vibration. In this case here, this thing just chops right through this stuff here, the red oak, without any problem of machine vibration. With the ShopBot, I had to go slower and slower to produce these at the quality that I want them to be at, because the way the system is built, the gantry moves back and forth. And as you can see here, the gantry does not move. This moves, and the 5x10 table moves this way. So that means basically this machine is 20 feet long, versus the old machine that's a 5x10 is roughly 5x10 in size. Now, the other massive difference that happened is that you'll see down here, I have different tools. That means that I now have a tool changer, which is a massive improvement over how I used to do things with a ShopBot. With a ShopBot, basically every time I want to change a tool, I'd have to re-zero everything, take it out, put it back in, all that kind of stuff. And whenever you do that, you do lose a little bit of accuracy. There's no way around it, because you're manually editing something that's automatic. With this tool here, everything's completely automated, so it's absolutely fabulous when I go to make these banks. I can basically just sit back, look at what's happening, and it grabs the tools, changes them, and so forth. That's just mind-blowing to me, because with the old machine, I've had it for, what, 5-6 years, and I've always changed the tools. Now I don't have to do that. I do that in the programming. Now, going back to the vibration, the reason why you have something really sharp, like this has not been sanded. Like this is straight off the machine. And the reason I can achieve that level of quality right off the machine is because it's such a heavy, solid machine with a tool changer. So let's take a look at the first step of this, which is a transition, because back then I was still making all the flattening with the ShopBot. So the flattening process you see happening here is pretty straightforward. I'm just going over the pre-cut pieces that I cut with the table saw earlier. What I'm doing is making them all parallel. Now, because I don't have a jointer yet in the shop, I'm basically using a CNC to replace what a jointer would do. And the results are actually pretty fantastic. I have no complaints about it. The only issue is that I'm wasting a lot of material, because I have to keep going lower and lower into the material to make everything flat. And I can only go as high as the lowest piece. So as you can see when I'm going over this, there's still a couple of spots where you see the old sort of wood before being shaved. So I have to flatten everything out evenly in order to produce that result. So you can see here the scorching marks from the table saw that I have. Again, a lot of these boards will be totally fine now, but because I'm using the CNC machine, I need to go through over everything multiple times. So just a lot of material wastage, which I'm not crazy about, but for now that's what I have to do to achieve the goals I want here in the shop for this website and this business. Now, after I've made parallel and flat one side, I spin it around 180 degrees, each one of these things, and I do the same thing again. And again, I gotta flatten and make everything parallel again. And then what I do is I flip it one more time for the gluing. So basically the top and the bottom of what you see here is what is glued together, and the other side that I do is roughly flattened. I could get away with some boards that are not totally flat. And what that does is make sure that when I do the glue up, as you see here, everything is relatively flat-ish to the bottom. It just saves me a bit of time with the router, because I still have to flatten everything all over again with my router, because as you can see here, you have a rough surface on here as well, but you have glue and other things that have built up on both sides during the gluing process that I need to shave off anyways. So throughout this whole process, they basically start with roughly 2¼ to 2½ inch red oak, and what I end up with at the end is roughly 1 inch and 3/4 inch thick red oak. So I do shave off a lot of material. If I had a jointer, it'd probably be pretty close to what I originally started off with, because I'm jointing every individual board instead of and flattening each individual board rather than the whole lot as you see here. Now when it comes to flattening, the ShopBot is totally fine for that. Not a problem at all, because again, I'm just using one tool, so tool changer is kind of redundant. I'm just going back and forth and shaving roughly 1/8 to 1/16 off the top and working my way down into an even surface. So machine vibration isn't really an issue either. The machine vibration issue happens when you're going like this and you're carving stuff out. Now what I want to do is offer with Sandbox Ranch a ton of different customization, and I was kind of limited because I didn't have a tool changer, and it's a small thing but it's a massive difference. So what you see here now is the updated version of the bank, and this is the one I'm actually going in production with. You'll notice now I can offer a chamfer all the way around, and that caused issues again with the ShopBot because of the reasons I've outlined before. Again, straight off the machine looks absolutely fantastic. And in the back you have, of course, the laser engraving, so you know where you got it from, so you can order more. Now what the machine is doing is it's carving all the way inside of here and taking this stuff out. Now that's the area where there can be a lot of movement in the product that's on the table. The reason for that is if I cut out the outline first and then do the inside, this might move a little bit from vibration. Now the nice thing about this machine as well that you'll notice is the hold down. I can use my vacuum table to hold the entire project down, so I'm not using screws and a bunch of other stuff that I had to use with the ShopBot to hold the finished plank down. Now this is the fun part, and of course it's sped up like hell. And the reason for that is because this is the fun part for me, but it's kind of boring to watch happen over time. So what you can definitely see here is the table moving back and forth. And that's very different from my other machine where the gantry will move back and forth. Now, as I explained before, that's because when you have the table move back and forth, you also introduce a lot more rigidity to the overall system because you have two rails holding the table and you have the top gantry moving left and right. And it's just a tremendously solid machine to be doing this kind of work. Now, the advantage to that, other than having the additional weight to absorb the vibration, is that I can go a lot faster when I'm producing these. Basically what I'm doing now is I'm going roughly 5 times faster. At this point, I can definitely go a little bit faster. I'm just fine-tuning things with proper bits and so forth compared to my ShopBot. So I've increased production speed about 5 times doing it this way, and the results are tremendously cleaner than what I had with my ShopBot. And again, a lot of that is due to machine rigidity and vibration. Now the process is basically the same regardless. What I do is I make the blanks, I glue them up, I shave the top and the bottom, put them in the Thermwood now, carve out all the banks, then I have to use a jigsaw to cut out the pieces, and then I put it on my homemade router table to cut them all out. And after that I just do maybe a little bit fine tuning with the sanding here and there, just sometimes there's some small issues just because this is real wood. Once I've solved that, then I go to the finishing stage, which is basically laser engraving or cutting the top front window, and also doing the finishing, which is the tongue oil. So there's quite a few steps involved still, but I'm definitely streamlining this over time. So when it comes to ordering custom banks, you can go to the website sandboxranch.com. You have a lot of different options when it comes to it, because I come from CNCKing.com. All we do is completely custom, and I really enjoy that aspect of it. So these are not definitely copy-paste products. You can change the screws if you want to chamfer or not, that's up to you. You can laser engrave the back with a custom message. You can laser engrave the front window with a custom message or word, what have you. I have different finishing available as well. You can even have little pads at the bottom here. So you can have a very, very custom bank that's unique in the world because there's so many different permutations to what's possible. So again, it's best to just go to the website and you'll see all the options there. And you can pick and choose whatever you want for your own custom bank, including the sizing. So if you want a custom bank, go to sandboxranch.com and you can order it there and we'll ship it right to your door.